A light bike is a fast bike, right? Wrong! Well, sort of. More and more downhill races are strapping weights to their bike, and we're even seeing production enduro and downhill bikes now coming with the option to bolt on extra weight. So why is this, and should you be doing it too? Let's find out. In the past few years, weights being strapped to a downhill bike has become a common sight. Take a close look and you'll see them either being strapped, taped or bolted around the bottom bracket area of the bike. Some riders may only be adding a few hundred grams, but at the extreme end of things, we're seeing guys like Jackson Goldston adding an additional 1.8 kilos plus that 500 gram tune mass damper he's got fitted too, which on his race spec Santa Cruz at 17.5 kilos is an additional 15% of weight. And this isn't a passing trend either. We are seeing brands get on board with this. So for example, this Orbea Rayon behind me actually has a unique shock mount that allows you to bolt weights onto it in select increments. As a lot of pros have turned to using e-bikes as part of their training sessions to either squeeze in another session where they might be recovering or just getting extra runs on a training session, what they found is compared to their lighter trail and race bikes, that the extra mass nice and down low on an e-bike actually help the bike feel a bit more stable and plough through the rough stuff. So a little bit more into the sort of mass on an e-bike. With motors like the Shimano EP801 and the Bosch CX, they weigh just under 3 kilos. So having that weight round by the bottom bracket area of the bike just helps it feel a bit more planted. And then in addition to this, you've got the extra weight of the battery in the down tube as well. But it's not just this that makes these bikes feel really nice riding downhill. And that comes down to a bike's sprung versus unsprung mass ratio. Now, when the topic of additional mass comes up, these are two terms that get thrown around a lot. So let's get on top of them. Sprung mass is everything that is supported by suspension. That means your front triangle, your cranks, your seat and seat post, the cockpit, the upper parts of your forks, and the part of your rear shock that is bolted into your front triangle, and everything else bolted into or onto your frame. So that includes you. Unsprung mass is everything else. So your wheels and everything fitted to them, the rear triangle and the part of the shock bolted directly to it, your fork lowers, and everything bolted to them, like your brake calipers and your rear derailleur. Thanks to the extra mass in the front triangle of an e-bike, this means that e-bikes will have a higher sprung to unsprung mass compared to a regular mountain bike. The larger sprung mass gives the bike more momentum and inertia, making it more resistant to being deflected by rocks, roots or anything in your path. Instead of being tossed around, the bike ploughs through feeling more stable and glued to the ground. The race to get this sweet spot of sprung to unsprung mass is also why we're seeing more teams switch to gearboxes. Taking the weight of the cassette and rear mech off the bike gives two bonuses. First, it improves the sprung to unsprung mass ratio. Not only that, but by removing the weight off the rear end, it means the rear wheel is able to move up and out the way of any impacts faster and easier. This is also why brands like Fox and Intend are experimenting with inverted upside down forks. Although not as extreme as switching to a gearbox, it does make a difference. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see more suspension brands switching to inverted forks in the future. So I mentioned Jackson Goldston has been seen running 1.8 kilos of weight on his bike. So before you head out with some zip ties and roofing lead, let's see why Jackson is running that much. Jackson weighs about 70 kilos, which is about 20 kilos lighter than other riders like Loic Bruni. So in tighter sections of a track, where it's a bit steeper potentially, it's more beneficial to him. So he can stop the bike better, he can move it about a lot easier. Whereas on flatter sections of track where he's got less inertia than those heavier riders, it can be a disadvantage to be that light. So earlier in the season, Jackson, like a lot of riders, was only running about 500 grams of additional weight. So at Ludenville this year, with that high-speed motorway section, Jackson had his mechanic Woody strap as much weight to the bike as possible. Now, all they had on hand at the time was some roofing lead. So they strapped that on and they actually rolled some up and put it inside the crank axle, which is actually a really nifty way to do it. But off the back of this, we are seeing brands now 3D printing, CNCing additional mass sort of holders onto the bikes as well. This year, Jackson's managed to equal the long-standing record in downhill of 4 World Cup wins in a row, which is really good. But does that mean we should all be running out and putting 1.8, 2 kilos of additional mass onto our bikes? Well, maybe not. See, unless you match Jackson's circumstances of being 70 kilos, then it might not be as beneficial as, say, just running 500 grams like a lot of other riders are doing. So 500 grams does sound an awful lot more reasonable. So could that be the sweet spot? Let's find out. Well, I'm keen to give this a go. Ferg's very kindly let me have a go on his Orbea Rayon today. This bike's well loved throughout the office. It's seen multi-day mountain stage racing, jump lines, and even an urban downhill race. And now I get to see if it can handle the mighty Forest of Dean. So office accolades aside, there's a reason I wanted to use the Rayon today, and that is because Orbea are one of the first brands to offer an out-the-box solution for adding and removing additional mass to your bike. So this weight fits inside the gravity link just here. And it's changing this gravity link that actually changes the bike from downhill spec to enduro spec. On the enduro spec gravity link, it gives you the option of bolting on a 529 gram weight centrally. On the DH version, you can add a 378 gram weight centrally on the link with an additional 80 and 86 gram weight either side for fine tuning. So as a drop bar fiend, I'm always used to try and make my bikes as light as possible, but I am really intrigued to see what adding that extra weight does. So before I dive into some race runs, let me just run you through some numbers. With kit on, I'm about 84 kilos and the bike, conveniently, is 16. So that's 100 kilos system weight. And then of the 16 kilos that makes up the bike, I've worked out 6 kilos of that is actually unsprung. So we're working with a percentage of 94% sprung to 6% unsprung. And then when we add the weight, that's going to make it 94.529% sprung. Weightless run, let's go. Time to bolt on some weights, and conveniently, someone has left us rather lovely to peak Prep Stand Elite here for us. Let's get to it. So we've pedalled back up to the hill, and I'm not gonna lie, 529 grams is noticeable, but will a mortal like me notice the difference going downhill? Let's find out. Right, so for the times. Now, in the interest of science, over the 1 kilometre course that is Sheepskull, run one with no weight was 2 minutes 40. And then the weighted run, 2:33. So yes, there is an element of learning the course a little bit. So where we've been filming the shots, I had sort of sessioned a couple of little bits on it, but no full length race run. But I think a lot of how hard I was able to push on that second run was in how the bike felt. Now, yes, being planted, having that extra weight just gave you that much more confidence. And like I was saying, I can wholeheartedly sell you on this concept because it absolutely felt mega. Integrated or not, I'm really excited to try this concept on the other bikes I'm fortunate enough to ride. So it's really opened my eyes today just about how playing with additional mass and then playing with that sprung versus unsprung mass ratio can affect how the bike feels and performs. So let me know down in the comments, is this something you're going to be experimenting with? Or if you've actually got any other sort of tech bits I should be experimenting with. I mean, at some point, I'd really like to bolt on everything else I've tried this year, be it the chain damper, the tune mass damper, tyre inserts, all onto one bike, just to see how much nicer I can make it feel and how much faster I can get down on the hill. So let me know down in the comments what you think. Like the video and subscribe for more, and I will see you soon.